Hi. That was so tiny. Today, we're gonna go back to concealer real quick because you guys have been, a bunch of you asked me to try this one concealer for like such a long time, and I know there's like still a bunch that I need to try. I think I found the most full coverage concealer that exists in this world. I have tried it before, but that was before I knew anything about anything. So thanks for forcing me to do this. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about the Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer. First of all, the name, you know what I mean? It's a little pot. I don't usually like these kinds of concealers, but my whole life has been just like fucked up by this thing. So I got the shade SX03, which is I think the second lightest one, and it is meant to be maybe like a little bit more on the neutral side, but it's perfect for my skin tone. Perfect for it. So yeah, it's thick. I am going to be comparing it with my other favorite full coverage concealers so that you guys can see the difference, because that's what we do here. I'm going to prep underneath my eyes because my skin is feeling a little like it needs a little more hydration with this new primer. This is the JD Wadey 180 collab with Dominique Cosmetics. They launched a couple things, and this is just so nice. I've only used it a couple times, but I really, really like it. I'm gonna just put a little bit and then pat it underneath my eyes. I did moisturize, but my under eyes always need like a little bit more hydration. Love that. It's just like very lightweight, nice and hydrating though. It smells like cucumber. All right, so I'm gonna throw down the Sensual Skin Enhancer on this side, and then we'll test everything else on this side. I'm just gonna pop it down with a flat brush. What I love about this is that like literally the tiniest amount goes such a long way. I haven't worn it, have I? With like a full face of makeup yet, because I am still testing it, but I've experimented a little bit. So like I literally just tapped the tip of the brush in the cap, like just a little tap. And that's the amount of product that I like have right now. So I'm just gonna pop it here. We're not using any color correctors or anything because I wanna see like how the concealer works. So this is another one of those concealers where it just keeps going. Like I'm actually really excited to compare this to the Jouer concealer, which I believe is a little more matte. And because this is in a pot, it is a cream, I feel like it retains more moisture. I'm using my fingers, so I am taking it up pretty high, but for those of you who are new to my channel, I do have like just natural creasing underneath my eyes, like right here, all up in my eye bag. That's like not really the best judge because I just like have natural creases. So I tend to avoid that area, but like I got chubby man hand fingers, so I can't really, you know what I mean? Like I don't have the precision. I'm beyond obsessed with this concealer, but I literally use the tiniest amount. Look at how much I have in this pot. This shit's gonna last me the rest of my life. I'm so excited about this. So what I love about it is that it's I've said this in previous videos, what I love about a more creamy concealer is that it retains a little bit more moisture so it moves with you throughout the day. So I like a flexibility in the concealer. I don't like it when you put it down and it's like way too matte because I feel like that in and of itself creates a little bit more creasing. But if it's too liquidy, you can also have like a similar effect where it's just too wet and it doesn't really set, and then it just kind of like, you know, settles into all those fine lines. Now, this is going to be the ultimate test because I have aged at least 10 years over this quarantine, and my under eyes are so wrinkly. So yeah, that is the Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer. Tiny little amount. Can't really see. I can see a little tiny little bit of a gray cast coming through, like at certain angles, you know? But I feel like it did such an excellent job concealing my under eye darkness without using a color corrector, which is what I typically do when I use something about that color. So obviously you can see some creasing in my little like fine lines, which fine lines, we'll call those deep ass lines. I mean, it looks fucking great, you know what I mean? Like it looks fucking great. My other favorite concealers, first up, we're just gonna go into Jouer because this shit blew my mind. And if you haven't seen that video, you should watch it because I'm just like, this is in the shade Chiffon. It's a little yellow and maybe ever so slightly light, but I feel like all these colors are like relatively close. So I want to use kind of like the same amount. I don't even know. Because this is another one where the coverage just keeps going, but I do believe that this formula is a little bit more matte. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna pat it out with my finger. Yeah, so it is definitely lighter and a little more yellow. But this is giving it a real run for its money, man. We're just gonna end up going into my creasing, so whatever. Okay, so after putting that down, It definitely does feel a little bit more matte. Like as I was blending it out, it did start to stick a little bit more. And I feel like the coverage is close. It's very, very close. I kind of feel like I can see a little bit more of the gray cast underneath my eyes. I don't know, you'd have to be the judge. This side does look a little bit more matte and this side does remain to have like maybe a little bit more luminosity to it. They are close. I had an easier time sort of blending this out, I think because it's a little bit more creamy. And then, I don't know if you can see, like once I started to get here, like the thinner the formula got, you can kind of see the disconnect between like my skin color and the concealer color. Whereas this side was a lot easier to just kind of like blend in. All right, next up, OG Tarte Shape Tape. This is in the shade Light Sand. This was, I mean, this shit really fucked up my life when I first tried it. Obviously, it took over like pretty much the world. And it's still a favorite of mine. Let's see if it can hold up. I'm gonna try to use the same amount of each concealer just so that we can really test like coverage, because that can be kind of difficult sometimes. So already when I'm blending this out, it feels thinner than the other two, you know, like it starts to kind of like thin out a lot faster. I think I used the same amount. I am prepping my eye, my under eye, the same way each time, just so you know. Yeah. Okay, so I do love that color. It's obviously a really nice coverage concealer. It is very full coverage in my opinion. That was a tiny, tiny amount. I would usually use more than that, but the point of this video is to kind of compare it to the Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer. And as far as like the amounts go, this obviously offers way more coverage. But I love the formula of Tarte Shape Tape. And if you don't have ridiculously dark circles like me, you don't have to use a color corrector and you can use the tiniest amount. And because it is a little bit more matte, it will set itself. But do keep in mind if you have like slightly more dry skin, you might want to hydrate a little bit more underneath your eyes, because that can cause creasing if your under eyes are too dark, if they're too dry. Does that make any sense? Okay, so next up is my favorite drugstore concealer. Well, one of my favorite drugstore concealers. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Full Wear Concealer, and this is in the shade Cashmere. This is pretty similar, I think, to Tarte Shape Tape. It might be a little bit more hydrating, I actually can't remember. So once again, tiny amount. It actually feels a little similar to Shape Tape when I'm like blending it out, maybe a tiny bit more hydrating. But I would say with that amount, slightly less full coverage than Shape Tape. Formula is beautiful though, absolutely beautiful. I fell in love with this concealer the first time I tried it, especially for a drugstore. It's very difficult to find drugstore concealers that are legit. I'm trying to like see, because we've been wearing this for like a little while. So I'm trying to like see if there's like any settling. And honestly, I'm blown away by how well it moves with my skin. Like, I think it actually might be better than the next concealer that I'm gonna show you, which was my favorite, like, hydrating full coverage concealer that I didn't set on more natural days, which is IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye. This is in the shade Light Fair 10 Light Fair N. So I think it's supposed to be like relatively neutral. This is supposed to be an anti-aging waterproof concealer. And this was my favorite for what I just fucking said. Like, I don't need to repeat it, you know what I mean? I already said it. All right, so I'm gonna apply this the same way that I did with this shade right here. I'm so sorry if you hear my boyfriend talking in the background. He's in a meeting and I don't feel like stopping. So I'm using the Morphe, it's the Morphe M224 brush, just a little flat brush, anything you wanna use. And I'm going to do my best to use the same amount. That's probably about right. It's obviously too light. All right, so one of the benefits of this concealer is that it is incredibly dewy, and it is a full coverage concealer, but using that same amount, it still doesn't give me the amount of coverage that this one does. Also, this color's a little bit too light for me, so it might like stand out a little bit more. It also kind of looks a little greasy on my skin because it is very hydrating. So if you're oily, you might want to avoid it, unless your under eyes happen to be like ridiculously dry and you're oily in different areas, but you don't want to use it anywhere where you are oily. You know, this is also a concealer that's kind of difficult for me to set. Like, I do like using it pretty much if it's winter time, very, very dry in LA, then I'll just apply it like this for like a no makeup kind of look, you know what I mean? Or just like a no makeup look. It's fine. And it's also like, because it's hydrating, it also like reflects light well, but you can see like way, especially when I'm looking in the mirror, I see so much of the dark take a second. I see so much of the gray cast underneath my eyes. like so much of it. So it's a good concealer. I'm not gonna bash it. I'm still gonna use it, but this guy's winning. It's also like I've been talking, I'm like doing these crazy things with my face. My under eye filler is basically all gone. So I've got like all this creasy, crepey grossness underneath my eyes. And this shit doesn't look like it's creasing. Like it looks so good. It's actually freaking me out. Tiny little bit of creasing like in this area right here because I have this like one line. All right, now I just want to show you what it looks like when you set it, because that is one of the problems that I ran into with the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye. It was full coverage, it was very dewy, very hydrating, but whenever I set it, I felt like it just kind of like became this paste, because maybe it was just like too hydrating. So I'm gonna be using two different things to set. I'm gonna show you on each of my eyes. So for this side, I am going to be setting it with the Bare Minerals Well Rested. This is actually a powder concealer. I've been kind of like experimenting recently with like coverage, and especially when I don't use a color corrector underneath my eyes, I always feel like I need a little bit more coverage because I just have like pretty dark circles. I've been kind of experimenting with using this as a setting powder, but when I use it with other concealers, it's too much. It ends up being cakey and creasy. It kind of seems like I either have to use it on its own or, yeah, no, I have to use it on its own. Or I have to set those other concealers with like a translucent powder or something. But the other day, I put on a little bit of the Sensual Skin Enhancer, and I used this to set just because I was like fucking around. And I was like, oh, that actually looks quite nice. So I'm gonna show you that. I'm just gonna make sure that we're all patted out. And then I'm going to be applying that with my MAC 240S brush. This little guy, this is my under eye setting powder, powder brush, and I love it. So I'm picking up like that much, pick it up, tap it off. Now, obviously what I love about this combination, first off, is that it provides even more coverage, even more like light reflectiveness, but I used two very thin layers of each. So it feels like less on my skin. It's not like I'm piling on the concealer, which is lovely. Now on this side, I want to show you with just like a regular translucent powder because I actually haven't tried that yet. So let's give it a shot. So to set that, I'm going to be using my LC Cosmetics light medium setting translucent powder. This is like so fantastic for fair skin if you want to brighten. So same deal, just putting a little bit in the cap, tapping in, tapping off. Ooh, that looks very smooth. Ooh, very smooth. I don't know if you guys see much of a difference on camera because I can never tell on the monitor, but very smooth. Ooh, oh, fantastic. Love it. Okay. So I think I might actually like it better with just the translucent powder. My under eye looks smooth. Do you see a difference? Because I do. Fuck, yeah, that's so smooth. Oh my God, I love it. All right. So what I love about this concealer, it seems to be very versatile. Also, I don't really feel like I have to use a color corrector underneath it, but I can if I want to. Like, okay, it might not be apparent to you right there, but when I look in the camera, especially with this side, because it's a little bit more matte, a little more smooth. All right, I don't remember what I was saying because my camera just died. So basically, just to sum this up, I think I prefer this concealer with a translucent powder because it looks incredibly smooth and fantastic. I also don't really feel like I need to use a color corrector with it, but I can if I feel like I need a tiny bit more warmth, which like I might for glam, you know, but for every day, I really don't think so. Like it provides such a nice coverage. I think maybe the Bare Minerals, because it's meant to be a concealer, it's more hydrating in and of itself. Compared to like other powders. The Sensual Skin Enhancer might be a little bit too thick to use with it. It still looks great, like they still work together really nicely, but this side just looks like way more smooth. I just said a bunch of things twice because my camera died, so now I'm super confused and all turned around. Basically, the Sensual Skin Enhancer has like totally fucked up my life. I love it, highly recommend it. I don't know what their shade range is like, maybe I should look it up. Ooh, okay. So it looks like they have a decent shade range. There's definitely like way more light shades than deep shades. From what it looks like on the website, it gets like pretty deep. I don't know, you'd have to like let me know. So I highly recommend it. It is pretty expensive, it's $48, but like, it's fucked up my life. This is my new fave. Basically my advice to you would be if you want to try it, use a tiny amount and build up. If you're dry, make sure you're hydrating underneath your eyes. Because thicker concealers are gonna really stick to those dry patches no matter how hydrating they are. It just fucking happens. That's it. This actually took longer than I thought it was going to. All right, that's it. If you want to see more concealer videos, let me know. I know I have a bunch of them still that I need to try. The most recent Jouer concealer is one of them. The Hourglass concealer, I'm so sorry. I know you guys want to see that. But like, I have like 45 concealer videos on my channel. You know what I mean? Like, how many can I do? He's still talking. I'm gonna go and let me know all the things. You know what they are. Bye.